Hi, I'm Hani Gluck, and you are listening to our first episode of Growing Global. I am passionate about helping entrepreneurs grow and scale their business. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades. I built my own businesses, sold a business, and continue to leverage the global economy. Growing Global is about educating, inspiring, and motivating entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs on how to take yourself and your business to the next level. Today, we're going to be speaking with Dave Delaney. He's the author of New Business Networking, which explores online and offline tools, tips, techniques to grow and nurture your professional network for your business and career by communicating the right way. He helps fast-growing companies reach their people through comprehensive communication workshops. He works with brands like Google, LinkedIn, UPS. He had his own podcast, New Business Networking Radio. And today he'll be talking to us about networking, conferences, follow-up. So listen in. Okay, let's talk about networking, because you wrote a book about networking.
Yes.
Right? And you talk about networking. I know you have this tell us about networking for nice people, how that started. Give us a little bit of background about that.
Yeah, thank you. So my book is called New Business Networking, and you can still find it on Amazon. It's all about how to grow your business, grow and nurture your network in order to, grow your business, and to build relationships that are long lasting, and so I have chapters on using social networks for this, but then I also have chapters on business card etiquette or just, organizing your own events in order to connect with your own communities. So networking for nice people came as a result of that book being published. I had a podcast called New Business Networking Radio, nbnradio.com. And that podcast also kind of, a lot of people wanted a group, a community where they could connect. And so that sort of inspired networkingfornicepeople.com, which is where I share a lot of articles, tips, tricks, all sorts of good stuff on how best to network. Because networking itself is sort of has negative connotations to it. The word, you can kind of think of like, just an icky kind of event where everybody's kind of cramming business cards in your mouth. And that's not what I'm talking about when it comes to networking. I'm talking about networking nicely and finding ways to serve your community first and foremost. And then, good things come from as a result of that. So I've got a little manifesto on the website that I'm sure you guys can go and check out and read at networkingfornicepeople.com.
Very cool. Love the concept. Sounds great. So now there's a Facebook group people can join and just get some tips on how to become better networkers. But
Absolutely.
Could you speak to the business owner who is so busy working in their business and they rely so heavily on word of mouth marketing that they feel like networking is just something they can do when they have time? Or, if they are forced to go to some social event, they'll network there. But talk to us about what you've seen come out of some of that, like for people that are resistant to it.
Right.
Give us an idea of what.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even word of mouth will come because people have worked with you, they've enjoyed working with you, or they know you and they like you and they trust you, which means that you've already been networking. You've already been growing your network, whether you know it or not. It's essential to any business that you have a solid network, not just of customers and prospects, but also of colleagues, peers in the industry that you can, you can have a call or have a conversation with. All of this is part of your professional network. And so having these colleagues, having these people can obviously benefit your business greatly. But I always argue, networking is about helping others. So finding ways to serve other people first and foremost, before asking for anything in return is key. And whether that's online or offline, I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's a big message also that I talk about I have a keynote presentation called Networking for Nice People, go figure. And which is the one I just did at HFMA at their conference. And the reason why people bring me in at conferences, especially as an opening keynote speaker, is because when I empower the audience on how to network effectively and I teach them the steps to do it, they have a way better time, maybe even see a higher return on investment of actually attending or exhibiting or sponsoring at a conference. I empower them and give them everything they need to know in order to, jump to it and start meeting new people, because that's a key thing. I mean, a lot of the relationships I have come from attending and speaking at conferences over the years. So.
That's awesome. That's really great. You're right, because people are all at conferences to network, and sometimes people are just hanging around, don't know anyone in the room.
Yeah.
Will go back to their hotel room because they don't even know where to start, or don't even have like a contact or first person. Do you have any, I know you talk about tips at conferences. Could you give us a few takeaways for
Absolutely,
tips for a conference?
Yeah, for sure. And I do actually have a course at betterconferencenetworking.com. So that'll be my shameless plug there. Yeah, absolutely. So at a conference, I often hear from people who are either shy or lean towards more on the introverted side. Nobody's 100% introverted or 100% extroverted or even 100% ambiverted, kind of in the center there. But people don't want to go to a networking event for whatever reason. So what I do is I suggest setting yourself a goal of an amount of time and an amount of people you're going to talk to. So let's say if you really don't want to go to this event, you're really shy, nervous, whatever, set a goal of 20 minutes and 2 people. And so, excuse me, you go to that event, you time it on your watch, on your phone, 20 minutes, and you have to talk to 2 people in 20 minutes. So you go and you introduce yourself to people, have, some brief conversations. And once you've had those 2 conversations in 20 minutes, you're good to go. You can leave. And then the next time you go to an event, try upping it to like 3 people in 30 minutes or 40 minutes and see what you can do with that. And so set yourself these sort of tangible goals that you actually can measure. So you can say, okay, I talked to 1 person, I'll talk to a second person. I've been here for 10 minutes. I got to do it for 20 to help inspire you. And then go and talk to people, and don't, you all share similar interests or similar, there's a reason why you're at this event or at this conference or trade show or what have you. So go and ask them, what brings them to the trade show? What brings them to the conference? And when they start to talk, listen. Don't think about what you're going to say when they ask you, but instead listen to what they are saying to you. And I have a whole section of the presentation and the talks that I do about networking, and it's in my book, about how to listen more effectively, but really, truly, firmly listen to what they're saying, and then ask them follow-up questions. So ask them open-ended follow-up questions. So, how did that make you feel? Or, so what did you do next? Or, what did you do here last year? Just ask them these open-ended questions so that they're doing the bulk of the talking. And you will find, by the way, if you listen to this right now, the next time you're at a networking event, or maybe a recent one you can reflect on, you're going to find that you're going to think about someone that you really liked. And you might realize, but I don't know her name or what company she worked for, but I remember really enjoying speaking with her. And the truth is, the reason why you liked her so much is because she let you do the bulk of the talking. Because everybody likes to talk about themselves, which is clearly the case with me rambling on here.
Well, it's straight out of the playbook of How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? It's
absolutely. Yeah, I got the book right on my bookshelf.
Yeah, so that's exactly where it's at. And I catch people doing it to me many times. Like, I'm at a conference and I'll try to talk about them and they're back on me. And then I'm like, he's got it. Like, he knows his stuff, right?
You're right, absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. I mean, I'm an extrovert, so I love talking to people. I could talk to people all day. It's so fun for me, but I know not everyone's like that. And for some people, they really struggle with, especially walking into a room of strangers. Like, to me, I see it as a challenge and it's fun. But I know many people don't and look for different excuses why they should or they shouldn't attend a conference.
Well, the reason why a lot of people don't like going, besides the fact that they may be more introverted, is that there's a lot of people that ruin events because they're the ones who are pushy, they're selling stuff, they're shilling, they're asking every person in the room for a business card when really, I mean, just save some trees, yeah.
What are your thoughts about exhibiting versus non-exhibiting? Because I've been to conferences where we've had a booth and I've been to conferences where we were just mingling with people. So
Yes.
I'm just curious to hear from you. I know my experience with that, but I'm curious to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about that in that course that I mentioned. So I've exhibited at big conferences over the years. I would say the biggest is probably the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. I used to work in that industry, and so we had like $1 million booth. So, like multi-level crazy booth. So it's a huge investment to exhibit. Now, of course, there's many conferences and events where you can get like a tabletop kind of thing. And so where the true value is in your preparation. The workshop that I do, the training and some of the stuff that I work with companies on is developing a plan of what to do before, during, and after a conference or a trade show. Mm-hmm. So because the after part is the part that often gets neglected, right? The follow-up.
Right.
And that's a big problem because if you spend all your time meeting these people, that's great, but then it's chaos. So, they're going to forget or you're going to depend on them to follow up with you and they won't. Right. And suddenly you're missing that huge section. So my three key most important steps of networking is to first to show up, the second is to follow up, and the third is to catch up. And catching up can be 6 months, a year, even multiple years later of re-engaging and kind of keeping those relationships alive. Just by catching up with folks. So following up is so important. So to answer your question, I mean, it really depends on the event and it depends on the preparation you do. But if you're exhibiting, there's a lot of value in exhibiting for sure. It's just the follow-up is such an important part of that process. And if you don't follow up, then you're missing out.
Okay, so talk to us, because we all know about the showing up part, right? And we know about talking to as many people as possible.
Right.
I come back from the conference, I have a pile of business cards. Mm-hmm. I'm going to email everybody, right? And just kind of touch base. And then I feel like the issue happens after that, right? Because I reached out, going back and forth a little bit. Tell me what you see, in that, because there's a big space there, right?
Yeah. Like in the process of following up, you mean, or?
Yeah, because you meet the person, right? Yeah. There's different stages of the buyer's journey, right? Certain people are in the awareness stage, decision stage, consideration stage, right? So there's different points so some people don't even know that they have a problem, right? So some people don't even know that they need coaching, right? So there's that part. So you're educating them. But then there's the, consideration stage where they're looking at different options. And then you staying in front of them. So talk to me about that piece. Any tips on because many people will meet you at a conference, reach out, send you an email, and then they go dark, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any strategies around that?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first thing I do, and this can be a cultural, because I know you have a global audience. So I do want to point out that culturally, this can be a no-no depending on where you are and who you're talking to. But at least in North America, and when you receive someone's business card, I don't suggest doing this in front of anyone anyway, unless it's really casual and it's okay. But take some notes on the business card, and that might mean that we just had a great chat. We go on our merry way. And I run over to the bar or the bathroom or a hallway, and I take some notes in your card. What those notes would be, or like what we talked about, who I should introduce you to, what article should I send you, how should we follow up? We both enjoyed the salmon on the buffet, and it was delicious. Right. My grandmother has a recipe for a similar salmon. I should send that to you to follow up. So take these notes on the business card so that some points to follow up. I don't suggest just sending like a blanketed same email to everybody you met. That's lazy. and it comes off lazy and it's obvious. With all marketing and communications, it comes down to not being icky, right? And if you do something and you feel like this is kind of icky, then don't do it. It's not to say you're not going to like maybe have a bit of a script in your email and copy and paste that, or use your CRM for that. But I do think you should personalize each message, especially considering nobody's following up with like 10,000, like 1,000 people after a conference. Probably you're probably following up with maybe 100 at the very most.
Right.
And yes, that's a lot of emails, but if you can just do 10 a day, or 15 a day, again, set yourself some measurable goals and write 10 emails a day to those business cards, give them a little more information, and then think about what's in it for them, right? Instead of saying, oh, by the way, we've now got a set of steak knives on sale, you should buy those. Instead, just open up the conversation and maybe say, hey, it was so good to meet you. Here's the recipe from my grandmother of that salmon that we both agreed was amazing. I think hers is better. Here's the recipe. Also, I would love to catch up with you maybe over a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee, just to learn more about, what you do, what brought you to this conference in the first place, and, just to catch up. When would be a good time for you? And so if it's someone in your town or your city, then you can meet up in person, or you can do it virtually, like we are now.
Right. Awesome. Love it. Love it. I'm curious that we're nearing the end of our time, but tell me about, I want to hear your thoughts about gifting and gifting to employees and gifting to clients, prospective clients. Talk to me about that. I want to hear your.
I love a personal note. I love a personal, and I have this thank you cards here that I will send out all the time. And people are surprised by that when they receive like a physical card or a gift in the mail. I've done things where, like, when somebody, no guarantees here, but like sometimes when I've done this in the past where somebody led me to a pretty big speaking engagement, pardon me, big by, the number of people there, and also it paid really well. And so I looked on their Pinterest and found they had like a wish list on Pinterest of things they really liked. And so I found something that they really liked on that, and I purchased it and shipped it to them with a thank you note. And they were like shocked. They were blown away. Another author that I was, just speaking with, who gave me some great advice. I'm working on my next book right now. And he gave me some great advice about the writing process and all this stuff, and the publishing. And I, had read his book, and I noted in his book that he loves, I think it was like Ben and Jerry's, some flavor of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. And he mentions in the book that he gets it at his local grocery store, Publix, which is a chain here. And so I wasn't able to ship him ice cream for obvious reasons, especially in Nashville in August. Right. So what I did was I took a gift card from Publix and included that. I mean, it wasn't much. It was like 10 or 20 bucks. But I put it in the thank you card, and I said, this card is to be used exclusively for Ben and Jerry's flavored ice cream.
Sweet.
So when he got that, he's like, whoa, that's awesome. And he read my book, because a lot of people, claim to read the books, which is another point, by the way. I always, when I'm reading a book, I always take tons of notes in the book, and then I extract all the notes later. But if somebody mentions a product or something they really enjoy, then I'll always make a note of that. And if it fits in somehow, I'll do something with that.
So you're reading books and sending notes to authors of books.
Yeah. So if you go, so I have a personal blog as well at davedelaney.me that you can find. And all this stuff's free, so I'm not selling anything. So that's why I don't feel so bad. But what I try to do is like these mini book reports. So what I do is and I don't do it with every book, the book report portion, but what I'll do is I'll read a book. I'll take tons of notes in the book. I'll extract all those notes and put them into a spreadsheet and try to make sense and put them in order so that they sort of make sense in a coherent kind of way. And then I'll write a blog post about that book, and I'll share some of the key takeaways from, quotes. Of course, giving lots of love back to the author and back to her book so that people can click through and purchase her book. And then part of the reason I do this is, one, I provide value to my own readers. So that provides value to them. So that's helpful. Two, it's a great networking way to network with authors, because then I send them a link to the blog post and say, hey, I loved your book. I just wrote a blog post about it. Here's a link. So that maybe gets me on their radar and just lets them know. And, at the very least, they may appreciate that. And then another point to that is also because, I read so much, listen to so many podcasts. I do this with podcasts too, by the way, that there's only so much information your head's going to take. So if you read a book, you may put it down after and forget everything that you read. And so by transcribing the information and returning to it, it helps me retain that information. So in theory, it makes me smarter. I don't know about that.
Love that. Love that. Well, I just got back right before this. I was we have a entrepreneur book club, and we always read a business book every month, and we talk about it. A bunch of entrepreneurs get together. Yeah. So I'm going to check out the blog you have and see if we can get any recommendations.
Yeah. There's lots of different books on there. So they're all mainly nonfiction business books.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay, great. Tell us where everyone can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at, there's a lot of links. You can find me at davedelaney.me.me or networkingfornicepeople.com. Either place you'll find me.
This is awesome, Dave. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. And maybe we'll do a part 2 and you'll tell us about your new book when that comes out.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Thanks, okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. For more information on how to grow your business, visit our website at 4dglobalinc.com. Click on the Owners Academy tab for more videos on sales, marketing, operations,